Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be covering a self-leveling method that I think can be effective for lots of you out there. And I'm going to show you a few different options on that, and kind of dive into the numbers on why it's effective and when you should think about doing it. So yeah, let's get into it. Alrighty, so as you can see from my portrait in the top left, I have recently acquired Whirlim Frost King from the Battle Pass, and in the process of leveling him up, I wanted to get him to 60 as soon as possible so that I could start, diving in, testing him, and, working on a guide for him and seeing exactly what he's capable of. So if we see here, my Whirlim Frost King right here. This is the one I'm working on getting to 60, and I was trying to do that as soon as possible. So what I kind of found, and I was doing this on stream, and we were talking about this and throwing some ideas between me and the chat, and they were kind of helping me out on theory crafting this and testing it and stuff. So a huge shout out to the stream chat, Adam Maxis, all you guys in there that were part of helping me do this and test it out. Which led to today's video. So basically what this is I will show you kind of how I'm thinking here and how this works. So because some of you are newer and won't really understand everything if you're trying to follow the video. So typically when you're working on maxing a champion, you will have your campaign farmer. That is your champion that is already maxed out, and they're not going to be gaining any XP from the run. They are just there to carry everything else they're leveling. So you'll have your campaign farmer. Then you will have the character you are working on that you're trying to get to 60 as soon as possible. And then we'll usually throw in a couple food, and that kind of, we can, do two things at once. We can level up a champion that we're working on, and we can also develop some food on the back end that we can, use to bolster future champions that we're working on. So this is kind of the typical setup in terms of leveling. 12-3 is probably the most commonly farmed stage. And after this run, right here, we can see that my champion I'm working on, Frost King, got 12,545 XP. And then we can see the food there, got a bunch, and they were leveling up. They got the same. They actually all got 12,545, but for some reason it makes that disappear and it replaces it with the words level up. But they all three got the same amount of XP. So where does that number come from? A lot of newer players probably aren't going to understand that, and I should explain that before we dive into this stuff. So here's a little chart that shows exactly what I'm talking about in Brutal 12.3 when you have all of the XP bonuses active that I have currently. So there is a maximum possible of 50,182 XP. So if one champion is not max level and they clear Brutal 12.3, they will get all of that XP solo by themselves. It will all go to them, and they will get 50,182. That's why you see in the self-leveling XP gained, it says 50,182 because they will solo get all of that XP. So what happens is that number is divided by 4. We have 4 champions here, so that 50,182 is divided by 4, and it comes out to 12,545. I believe there's some decimals in there that get rounded off, but it comes out to that 12,545, and all 4 champions will get that equal split. But our Bellower is max level, so he gets nothing, and then the other 3 still get their same split of that divided by 4. So they all 3, since they aren't maxed out, they get their XP. I hope I did an okay job explaining that. So if we have less champions, we will actually get more XP because there's less champions to split it with. So, okay, remember, we got 12,545. Let's go ahead and take out the food. So this is another common way people do it, is a farmer and then the champion they're working on, because usually the champion we're working on is not strong enough to clear the level. So we have to use our farmer plus that champion, and then we can level them faster. We can see it got 25,091 XP instead of the 12,000 and something that it got last run. So it got almost twice as much, or I think it was actually twice as much. So that is a way that we can, get that XP directed to the champion we wanted to without having to gear it or worry about it being powerful enough to clear something on its own. But now let's go ahead and see what happens when we do the self-leveling method. So we take out the Bellower, we put in just the Frost King. So we're targeting all of that XP into one champion. There's nothing to split it with, and we can see the max the maximum XP, the maximum XP that we can get possibly from Brutal 12.3 with what I have the buffs active currently is 50,182. So right now, solo clearing it, my Frost King should get 50,182 because all of that XP goes to one place and there's no split. And there we have it. So we see the 50,182 all went to the Frost King. And then if we start looking at XP per energy, the self-leveling, we are getting 6,273 XP per energy. Whereas if we do our farmer plus 3, we're getting 4,704 XP per energy. So very efficient. If you're just trying to direct XP to get one champion leveled up as fast as possible and work on them, this method can be really good in a lot of scenarios. And you'll see in red, I put hard self-leveling. What that means is the difficulty. So if we go to stage selection and we swap this to hard, because a lot of you are probably watching this and maybe you're not quite to the end game yet and you're saying, well, okay, that's great, but what if my champion is not strong enough to do brutal, but my farmer is? Even if we drop it down to hard and do 12-3, look what happens. We are still going to be getting 34,220, and that will be an XP per energy of 5,703, which is still better than doing the farmer plus 3 or the farmer plus 1, because remember, it costs more energy. It costs 8 instead of 6. So boom, we got that XP. It was all targeted. So even if you drop it down to hard, and if you're in the end game and you're taking champions as 6-star, especially legendaries, you're probably going to be able to get them into a spot where they're going to be able to farm hard. And the way you can do it, let me talk about the order of operations real quick. So let's back out of this. We'll go back into here, pull up the champions, and where are we at? Okay, so there we go. So probably the most efficient route, if you do want to do this self-leveling method to get a champion maxed out as soon as possible and be efficient with our XP per energy, I can take that away now. You're going to want to probably Minotaur grind them first. So this strategy is going to be a little bit more for your middle to end game players who already have their 4-person Minotaur teams where they slide in the 5th slot. You're going to want to do that straight away with your level 1, your champion that you're working on. In this case, it's Frost King. Just throw them in there as a level 1 and do your Minotaur grind. And during that process, you will get them pretty close to level 50. Depending on the buffs and stuff you have, you'll get them to like anywhere between level 30 something to level 40 something. Boom, you finish the rest out and then you 6-star them. That's once they're 5-star. So do the Minotaur grind first, because then we can go ahead and build their masteries so that they can actually self-farm and be able to clear the content. Then we can go ahead and gear them, and then we can just start working. Even if they're throw a couple brews in there, make them level 20 something, and then take them to hard. And once you get a couple more levels from that targeting XP, take them into brutal. And obviously this is more directed towards an end game strategy. I'm just kind of walking you through my thought process on how I'm able to target XP and get a champion to 60 as soon as possible and be very efficient in terms of XP per energy. So I can go ahead, bump it up to brutal. Now they've got their masteries, they've got their gear, and I can go ahead and target that XP and be very efficient in terms of XP per energy. Plus get this champion to 60 as soon as possible, and you know, then I'm able to dive in and kind of work on them and look at doing the guide and all that. So wanted to do a video on this because it's something, it's a method that may be viable for some of you out there that are more towards the end game. Obviously beginners, this might not be something you're super into doing or trying out right now, but it's always good to know you know, what's in the future when you do get to the end game, a method that you can have at your disposal in terms of targeting XP and being very efficient with your XP per energy. So yeah, it's gonna kind of do it for this video. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and if it's something you've done before in terms of targeting XP to you know, gear a champion to be able to level themselves, or if you're just gonna do the normal food strat no matter what, something you're not interested in trying. I always enjoy hearing your guys' input. That's how we all learn and grow as players together. So yeah, and also I will put a link to that little image I have. If I pull it up here again, this little chart, I know some of you like to be able to see whatever I was using in the video, so I will go ahead ahead and put a little link to that down in the video description if you want to pull that up. But it basically just shows the XP per energy and the max and kind of how I was doing the math there, so you can check that out if you want. As always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.